More and more nations, like the African nations and Asian nations, are pushing back, and they're saying, we have every right to use these same fossil fuels that you all have over the decades or 100+ years. And it's alarming to note that nearly 2 billion plus people continue to live without electricity and reliable energy in this world. 2 billion. I think it's important to, again, frame this in a manner that will, I think, resonate with those that want to do good, right? And I'd like to think most of us want to do good. So over the last 120 years, the industrial world, which is the industrialized rich nations, whether it be US, Europe, Japan, Korea, they have been largely, predominantly responsible for carbon emissions, overwhelmingly. The underdeveloped world has not. And what has started to happen over the last few decades is that ever since carbon emissions have become an issue, many banks, institutional lenders, and financial institutions have stopped lending to these developing countries for anything to do with fossil fuels. They're happy to lend for renewable energy, but renewable energy does not allow these nations to industrialize. You cannot run a cement plant on a windmill or a solar plant. You cannot make steel with windmills and solar. So for the developed world to now prevent the developing world, the southern hemisphere, Africa, Asia, there are many nations, from utilizing fossil fuels to attain the same level of and standard of living that the Western world and developed world have become accustomed to, I think is not fair. And it is, to a certain extent, inhuman. I think we should be thinking about that. We should be certainly concerned about it. Every year there's a conference called COP, Conference of Parties, which the 28th one is going to be taking place later this year in Abu Dhabi and UAE. That conference is, as its name sort of alludes to, a Conference of the Parties is a UN-sponsored grouping that was also responsible for the Paris Accord. And they have a challenge on their hands because more and more nations, like the African nations and Asian nations, are pushing back, and they're saying, we have every right to use these same fossil fuels that you all have over the decades or 100+ years. And it's alarming to note that nearly 2 billion plus people continue to live without electricity and reliable energy in this world. 2 billion. And that is unconscionable. That needs to change. We need to end energy poverty as it is today. So I think one of the motivations for doing what we're doing at CarbonKerma goes beyond just carbon trading and offset trading. It's also keeping that in mind, that we want to clear a path for poor nations to participate so that we remove this excuse that many financial institutions are using, whether it's an excuse or whether it's imposed by society, it doesn't really matter. The fact is that they're not able to secure capital to build their own fossil fuel-based industry, and that needs to come to an end.